Okay, this is a poem by James Wright. It's called A Blessing. I'm Marcelo and he's Hector. And it goes like this. Just off the highway to Rochester, Minnesota, twilight bounds softly forth on the grass, and the eyes of those two Indian ponies darken with kindness. They have come gladly out of the willows to welcome my friend and me. We step over the barbed wire into the pasture where they have been gazing all day alone. They rip tensely. They can hardly contain their happiness that we have come. They bow shyly as wet swans. They love each other. There is no loneliness like theirs. At home once more, they begin munching the young tufts of springs in darkness. I would like to hold the slender one in my arms, for she has walked over me and nuzzled my left hand. She is black and white. Her mane falls with her on her forehead, and the light breeze moves me to caress her long ear. That is delicate as the skin over a girl's wrist. Suddenly I realize that if I stepped out of my body, I would break into blossom. Okay, so the first thing, here's the analysis. The setting. This story, this small poem takes part in Rochester, Minnesota. This is a state in the United States that it's on the north, and because of this, it's very cold, and you can imagine. You can say that the time of the year is summer because there are pastures and horses are eating the grass, and also you can see cars passing by. So in winter it's almost impossible at so low temperatures to grow some seeds, pasture, grass, etc. And also notice that in the first line of the poem, you can see highway instead of road. And why is this? Highways will normally people use it to explain urbanized areas. If you go more to rural places, you would say road, where there is less people, more like natural area. So you can say that the place where the ponies were and the author and his friend went was like an urbanized area. There was several people. Also, you can see that they stepped over the fenced wire, and the fenced wire you can see it as very difficult to climb, and because you can cut yourself, and very tall. But in this case, it says they just step over it, and this is because the wire is very short. If you imagine a very big wire with a lot of things to cut yourself, well, it's not like that. It's a small one. Next, this was the setting. So symbolism. Minnesota, Rochester, like I said, it's a very cold place. And for me, and for us, this place represents the feelings that normally people show towards other persons. For example, if I'm being mean with Hector and I don't care that he's sad because I told him something, I'm being cold, like Minnesota, Rochester. And throughout the analysis, we analyzed that several things had to do with World War II. For example, the concentration camps. Normally they were very cold because people wore very little clothes, and it's the only clothes that they had. So it could represent the concentration camps in World War II. Next, you can see in line 2, twilight bounds softly forth on the grass. Twilight bounds, it's when the sun is going to go down and the day is going to be complete, it's going to be dark. And you can relate this to the end of an era, like for example, the end of a president, 6 years here in Mexico, or anything that is related to that. I didn't use a world war because a world war, you never know when it's going to end. You don't know if it's going to end in one day, in 1 year, or in 10 years, I don't know. And at twilight, you can estimate how much time of daylight is left. Also, it says on line 10, in line 11, they bow shyly as wet swans. They love each other. There is no loneliness like theirs. At home once more. this could be related to a Chinese type of belief that it's the Buddhism. Buddhism has a stage of nirvana, I don't know if you know it, but the stage of nirvana states that it's the loss of something, the loss of happiness, the loss of evil things. Many people get it wrong. But in this case, the point is when the two men arrive, they like it says, they both shyly as wet swans, they love each other, they felt at home once more. In this case, the two ponies, when the author and his friend arrived, they became so happy, they full of joy, they step aside their loneliness to have a stage of nirvana. And also, there were two friends. The author, like I say, the author and his friend went to the ponies, like to gather with them. And for me, that was the example of World War II. I told you that several things are related to World War II with this poem. In this case, the two friends were the Russian soldiers. In World War II, in the concentration camps, German soldiers were killed the Jewish people, everyone that was inside them. And suddenly the war finalized when the Russian soldiers came to the concentration camps and got everybody outside of them. In this case, the Russian soldiers were the two friends, and they made at home the two ponies, it says. Also, there is in line 18, for she walked over to me, and also my left hand, she is black and white. Black and white normally related to good things and bad things, and that was what we did. In this case, I think that it represents the yin yang in every situation. That in every bad situation there is going to be something good, and in every good situation there's going to be something bad. In this case, I don't know, maybe the ponies at first thought that they were going to eat all day, and etc., when they were put in that place. But actually, when they thought it was good, they now felt lonely, and that was the bad thing. But then, like I said, the two persons came, the two friends, and got together with them, and it was a good situation.
Well, as Marcelo said, now I'm going to start with the personification of the poem, in which we have that the horses are like related to use in the Second World War, as Marcelo said, because they were like always being their whole life being in that space, eating and just hanging out there, but they're not pretty free. They're not really free, so they're stopped by the barbed wire, which is like a big fence representing the concentration camps in the Second World War. Well, personification is basically relating something that is not specifically a human or a person to a human characteristic, as the ponies are not used or are not Catholic or whatever. So, but they're over there just hanging out but not being free, you know. Now we have the simile that they shyly bow as swans. As Marcelo said, when these two guys arrived to that place where the ponies were, they both shine as swans. And we commonly relate swans with like a romantic relation or a love scene, or I don't know. So we thought that when they they shyly bowed as swans, they were not bowing to the people that arrived. They were bowing between them. So they wanted to show that they were like a couple, or they were like I don't know. Well, yeah, like they were a couple. So they were showing those strangers that they loved each other, because for example in line 11 we have they bow shyly as wet swans. They love each other. So they're not bowing precisely to the people that arrived. They're bowing between them. And about the style, well, pretty much the style is how the writer uses the words, uses the all the grammatic tools to represent an idea or to represent what he wanted to say. So the style is pretty basic, it's pretty easy to understand. The writer only used typical words. He has not pretty difficult words to understand during the whole poem. And well, even the poem has pretty isolated sentences. They are related between them. Even for example, if you read between line 15 and 18, which is, I would like to hold the slender one in my arms, for she has walked over me and knocked with my left hand. It has not pretty much sense, but they are, if you think about it a little more, they are pretty connected because of the context of the poem, but they are pretty isolated sentences. Well, the tone basically is the mood or the feeling that the